everyone, so I am back and I'm doing another one. I just finished this one here. So I've got quite a few to catch up with. I don't know whether that was a good idea or whether I should have just started from the middle of the month and just do 2 weeks. Why did I make my life a lot more difficult? I have no idea. Anyway, so I find this flower color guide quite useful to get you started. So I had a little flip through and I quite like the look of this poppy. It's a very open one. It's got these loose kind of petals which are, you know, it's not a unified circle, so it's got a bit of a interesting look to it, and the center as well. So I'll base that as my main flower and then probably build on to it with a bit of doodle, smaller kind of whimsical bits and pieces. So let's do that. I'll link this book down below for you if you're interested to check it out. It's very hard to keep it open, so either take a copy if you can, or what I do is take a picture on my phone and then just kind of rest my phone somewhere on my desk so I can use it as a reference, because I'm not really copying it, just kind of looking at the shape of the flower. Alright, so I'll start with the center. Again, I'm going to put you on speed painting, or speed it up a little bit and voice over it. I enjoy the process so much that I forget to talk, so. Okay, so I have my cup of coffee here. I'm doing the voiceover, so hopefully I won't be slurping too loud. Okay, so I'm back to my fountain pen. This is the Platinum Carbon Ink fountain pen. I've been using it for years and it's fantastic for the finest line possible to achieve with a fountain pen, I find. Also, it has this kind of interesting look. It's elongated, a long handle, and so you can really hold it by the far end to create looser lines and also more detailed work like I'm doing here. So also the ink inside is also by Carbon Ink, which is a completely waterproof ink, so 100%, and it means that you can go over watercolors or any sort of water-soluble mediums thereafter if you wish, and it will not move the ink. So the sketchbook here I'm using is the same as with the first illustration. It's the Dylusions Journal. Paper is super smooth and it's off-white, which both things I don't really like for using with watercolors. However, it has helped me to think a little bit outside of the box and sort of start this slightly refreshed style for myself in terms of the botanicals. Okay, so here I am now adding these fine lines, which are just great to create a more modern approach to an illustration. I'm combining also more realistic flower drawing here as well as whimsical. So the one on the top is from my ephemera piece that I created a while ago. And yeah, just love it. Also these kind of beads that I'm adding as doodling, I haven't seen anyone else do that, and I kind of like that. Sort of feels unique, and it feels more like, I don't know, it feels my own. You know, when you are inspired by an artist, which I was talking about before, this sort of concept, I was inspired by Ali Brown, but everything else I want to be mine. I want to take some idea, but kind of, you know, not copy other artists' work, but do your own. And I think majority of us need that inspiration from one another, and as long as we respect each other's work, and as long as we mention where the inspiration came from and don't just blindly copy someone's work without mentioning it, then it's all good. I think we are all very happy to do that, or at least I can speak for myself. And so here, just a little bit of doodling. I really like how this composition came to be. I do like this sort of concept of creating a flower, which is definitely not in the middle of the paper or the sketchbook page. It's kind of sitting more at the bottom and either to the left or to the right. I find that sort of quite pleasing. Also, you could take this idea and translate it into a journal page. So if you wanted to do some journaling, you can create a simpler version of this floral illustration and then just have loads of space on the page there, which you can use for writing your thoughts or documenting a creative journey or whatever you want to do, really. So yeah, you can just scale it down and use it that way as well. Or why not take a bigger sheet of paper, like a watercolor paper, and create maybe a larger scale and then just framing it. That would look beautiful as well. Here I am going for the Neocolor II crayons. They're by Caran, and they're the water soluble. So the Neocolor I are the oil pastels, if I'm not mistaken. So the Neocolor II are the water soluble aquarelle crayons. So they're fantastic to use together or in place of watercolor, combining them with other mediums or leaving them, but they do look beautiful, I find, when part of the crayon is exposed as it is, and then part of it has a bit of water, so that you have that lovely transition of having the texture from the dry crayon as well as having that pigment move and create a softer watercolor effect. That's my favorite way of using them. I'm not a huge fan of completely flattening out the pigment and creating just a watercolor look, because I can use watercolor for that, but like I said, I do like maintaining that bit of texture. So here I am not even following the colors of the poppy, and I have created more curling to the petals, which didn't have in the picture. So again, just using the picture as reference. Let me just take a sip of my coffee. That was good, hopefully not too loud. Okay, and then as the color palette is quite light, I then decided to add a little bit more of contrasting color, and so I went for this sort of mahogany type of a color, and I believe that was the Carmine Lake by Caran, the Museum Aquarelle Watercolor Pencils. And and then on top of that, just now the greens that I used, that you saw, they were the Graphitint by Derwent. A couple of the green colors just to add a little bit of that earthiness and a little bit of that sort of dimension to them. Same thing with all of these pencils. I like using them in the same way as I mentioned with the Neocolor II. So partially like to use them on watercolor, partially exposing for the textures, etc, etc. So it just kind of is lovely. And specifically with the pencils, I actually like to work with them on wet paper rather than adding them to paper and then wetting. So it's the reverse way. Here I'm going on top of the Neocolor II, I'm going with watercolor, and I wanted to show you that effect, that you can still do that. There is nothing wrong with either starting with watercolor and then adding mixed media on top, or you can actually add watercolor on top of something that you already created with other mediums like the water-soluble crayons. So here I mixed up a more of a peachy pinky color. I'm also adding my beloved nickel azu yellow into the center of the poppy and letting the yellow kind of appear throughout the illustration, also on the leaves, and that sort of connects it together. I find kind of gives it that bit of a pop of color, and yeah, I really like it. A bit of green as well, and just the idea of this style is to keep it simpler, of leave a lot of white space around the illustration and have that kind of gentle approach to it. A subtle flower, whether it's more detailed or more or less detailed and more whimsical, it doesn't really matter. I like combining the two styles. It's just about kind of having a repetition of this style throughout the World Watercolour Month. For me personally, it took me a while to depict this style, and I was experimenting quite a bit, trying to find the right approach to it, and something that feels me, like it's mine, something that I would be happy with, because I am my worst critic. Some days, like there was this other day where I filmed two pieces of like botanical art, and I just was not liking it at all, and I was really contemplating what I should upload it, because that obviously was the time that I spent filming it, and I'm sure some of you would have really enjoyed it. But to me, I have to feel happy and confident, and it has to feel authentic, and if those three boxes are ticked, then I'm happy to share the content with you. Alright, so this was the 3rd of July Botanical. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. And thanks for watching, and have fun in the World Watercolour Month of July. See you soon.